Hello and welcome to the Ashley Lay Real Estate Podcast. Today I am joined with Ellis Keifer from Greater Winston-Salem Incorporated, and she is the Director of Business Recruitment. Ellis, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we're talking about Winston-Salem, North Carolina, why it's a great place to live and work. So what's a great business success story here in Winston?
Well, Winston's history is really built on textile and tobacco manufacturing. And that legacy of manufacturing strength, but also entrepreneurship, is really carried into the modern landscape of Winston's economy. So recently, we've been really fortunate to announce 600-ish jobs in the past year. And many of those were large manufacturers and a headquarters relocation. So one company to highlight in particular is Caftech. They're a medical surgical device manufacturer, and they announced expansion of almost 100 jobs and $1.3 million of capital investment. And they are a company that began here and has continued to grow. But on the flip side, last summer, we also had a company from New York that came and relocated their entire headquarters and manufacturing down here. They manufacture vitamins. And ironically, they moved into a former Reynolds tobacco facility.
Okay.
So a facility that used to make cigarettes is now making vitamins and nutraceuticals, which is really, it's a great story.
That's awesome.
And that's certainly a theme in Winston. We've taken the legacy strengths of manufacturing, the kind of entrepreneurial support system that Winston has built, but also repurposing that into new sectors like life science, aviation, and new manufacturing.
That's fantastic. I know, as I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and it seems that Winston is kind of following the track that Pittsburgh followed. Obviously, that was huge coal and steel and iron, and then everything kind of went flat. And now Pittsburgh's a tech and medical hub, and we're seeing like an innovation quarter and Atrium Health and Wake Forest and everything going on there.
Yes.
It's some really exciting stuff.
It really is. Yeah. The shift in industry focus is certainly not separate from the strength that we had in manufacturing, and specifically tobacco manufacturing. A lot of the capital invested into this city continues to benefit the new companies that are coming to town.
That's amazing. So obviously, geographically speaking, Winston's in a very unique position.
Yes.
We're about an hour and a half from the Blue Ridge Mountains, depending on what town you like to visit, and we're about 3.5, 4 hours from the coast.
Yes.
And we're also directly, almost perfectly in between North Carolina's two largest cities, Raleigh and Charlotte.
Yes.
So if a business is looking at Raleigh and Charlotte right now to be their hub, what do you think they're going to find? What's the CEO or somebody looking to expand going to find in those cities?
So that's a great question. We've seen a lot of interest in North Carolina as a whole over the past, especially I would say year and a half. And a lot of these companies are not necessarily even domestic companies, international companies hearing about the benefits of moving their business to North Carolina from an accessibility, but also the economy and business culture perspectives. And sometimes they come look knowing about the Triangle, maybe knowing about the Charlotte metro area, but then they come to find that Winston, as the fourth largest city in North Carolina, has many of the same benefits that they would find there, but with a much lower cost of living and lower barrier to entry in terms of starting a business or relocating a business. Our real estate is typically more affordable, and our workforce is sizable enough to meet the needs of most major companies looking to move.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I noticed when I moved down to Winston-Salem is it's a mid-city. It's definitely a city.
Yes.
But it does still have that small community type feel.
Definitely.
With how you interact with everybody. And I thought that was something very unique that you don't get everywhere.
It's true, yeah. We like to say that it's a city with big city amenities, but a place that's small enough to make your mark, and that is certainly true. That's been true in my experience. I'm not originally from Winston. I moved here from Oklahoma a couple years ago, and it really is a city that feels welcoming and engaging enough that you can find your place quickly, whether that is as a business or as an individual.
Yeah, that's excellent. And as a mid-sized city with a small town feel, it has great food. Winston-Salem, in my opinion, has one of the best city park systems around. I know as a father of two and just taking my kids to literally a different park almost every weekend and not being disappointed. The cleanliness, the upkeep, everything about it, whether we want to go hiking or just play on a playground set, Winston has it all. I know one of my favorites is Quarry Park that overlooks the old rock quarry, but then way in the distance is the Winston skyline, and sunsets over that are just spectacular. I know they've got fireworks at that park almost every year at the 4th of July. So there's so much to do, while at the same time you can just settle in wherever you are in your neighborhood and feel at home.
It's really true. Yeah, and that's definitely a focus of our organization specifically, but I think the community as a whole is to continue to be the best place to raise a family.
Yeah. So you had mentioned kind of when businesses come in and see Winston-Salem, maybe it's a lower cost of living or a lower startup cost. What's typically your pitch or Greater Winston-Salem's pitch to a business that maybe wants something bigger, but Winston actually has really everything that they need?
That's a great question. To cite a particular example, we've had conversations with companies over the past few years, maybe specifically within life sciences, that are really interested in the triangle because they see, the incredible growth that's happened in the Raleigh-Durham area. But they learn that they really have access to the same talent pool here because it's only an hour and a half away. The students that are graduating and moving into that workforce could just as easily move here, or maybe they already are here. And also, you kind of get to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, depending on the particular area of focus in life sciences. Especially, Winston shines in ways that are unique to other parts of the state. Now that I'm on the life science track, we are home to the Wake Forest Institute of Regenerative Medicine, which is the largest regenerative medicine research institute in the world.
Oh, wow.
There's 450 researchers there from 64 different countries. And they're the first in the world to successfully transplant a lab-grown organ into a patient. They're currently working on, I believe, 40 different types of tissues. So that niche within life sciences has also attracted particular companies that might not be interested in the exact assets of the triangle. So that's one example in particular, but there are certainly others when we're talking about different types of companies. All in all, I would say our biggest selling point is that you don't get lost in the mix moving to Winston. It's definitely a community that wraps its arms around new businesses and even just new families. It's still small enough in feel that you matter moving to Winston.
Yeah. And you hit on it perfectly a little bit earlier also, is the cost of living for the families that move with these new businesses moving into the area. In July of 2022, the average sale price of a home in Winston was around $305,000 for the entire triad. And that's under North Carolina's average of $322. So we're well under the average home sale price.
We are.
For these families. So if you're looking to move or your job's moving to Winston-Salem, you're in luck. You're still going to find a great house at a reliable price.
Our cost of living is about 10% below the national average, which for some individuals or families even at this point in the landscape of what work looks like is enough of a selling point to decide to move. We actually anecdotally have a friend of ours who is a childhood friend of my husband's and has visited us a couple times, and we'd wake up on a Saturday and go hike and be there in half an hour, or we've been to the mountains. I love to say that you can wake up on a Saturday morning and be hiking by, mid-morning, or in the mountains on the ski slopes before they open, or at the beach by lunchtime. So anyway, all that combined and the affordability, the community feel, our friend has decided to just pick up and move because he has a remote job. So is looking for a home in Winston for that exact reason, just accessibility, community and cost of living.
Absolutely. And when you're making a big life decision like moving, those three things that you just listed are usually at the top of everybody's list. No matter what the house looks like or what your family situation is like.
Right.
The accessibility and that community is a vital part of where you're going.
Definitely.
And we have that. Also, we'd be remiss to say that in 2022, Winston-Salem's actually 30 cents lower than the national average in gas prices as well. So with everything exploding in price, it seems like everywhere, compared to the national average, we are still very much under, not just in housing, but also in gasoline.
Which is very important. I've had several phone calls with friends across the country at different points over the past few months comparing what we were seeing as we were driving by the gas stations.
Yeah, and with that accessibility as one of those key features, you can still pick up and go to the mountains and it not burn a hole in your pocket just getting there, or be at the coast by noon.
Exactly.
And still have an enjoyable weekend and not have McDonald's all weekend kind of thing. So you've laid out the call for businesses to come to Winston-Salem. We've supported that with a bunch of different stats. But as the rubber hits the road, what kind of growth opportunities are out there for maybe different industries here in Winston-Salem?
That's a great question. We really have narrowed in our focus to a few particular target industries that we feel like are a particularly good fit based on either legacy strengths of our community or opportunities that we see to grow given the assets that exist. So one is healthcare and life sciences. This makes a lot of sense because our two largest employment sectors are healthcare and education, and our two major employers are two major healthcare systems. So healthcare makes a lot of sense. As I mentioned, the strength of Wake Forest Institute of Regenerative Medicine gives us a unique strength in that's attractive to companies that might not be in the mainstream life sciences economy. And we've also seen a lot of growth in the entrepreneurship space within life sciences, which is exciting. Wake Forest Institute for Regenerative Medicine actually launched a regenerator hub to spin out companies from the research phase into actual industry.
Okay.
So that's really exciting. We've seen a lot of traction there. Certainly healthcare and life science. Another strength of Winston historically is aviation and aerospace. We actually are the largest manufacturer of airline seats in the world.
Oh.
Great fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
But the traditional strength of maintenance, repair, and overhaul is still true, but has shifted a bit into more of the electric vehicle, eVTOL, aircraft manufacturing. So we've seen a lot of interest and excitement around that recently. And hopefully we'll have some announcements coming soon within aviation and aerospace. Obviously, Greensboro, our neighboring community, has announced a major relocation with Boom Supersonic, and that has spurred the interest even further. So aviation is definitely a growing industry in the Winston area. I would also say headquarters and business services in general is one that we work to recruit because it's easy to tell the stories of Krispy Kreme and Hanes Brands and Reynolds American and give companies the vision of what it would be like for them to relocate and find their roots and their strength in the Triad and specifically in Forsyth County. Beyond that, technology and high growth entrepreneurship, Winston really embraces startups. We have a really strong entrepreneurship ecosystem with over 30 support organizations. And so whether you are in the ideation phase or all the way beyond launch and looking to scale, there is an organization here ready to support you. And that is an exciting new sector to begin to recruit, because recruiting startups really is recruiting the future of business for Winston. Yeah. And lastly, advanced manufacturing. I would say that over half of the companies that I work with in particular are within manufacturing, different facets of manufacturing, but the two subsectors of that we particularly target are food and beverage and logistics and distribution. Food and beverage is more kind of specialty foods for our area. Texas Pete hot sauce. Garner Foods is headquartered here in Winston, And that type of market is really a great fit for Winston's economy. Logistics and distribution makes a lot of sense because of our location on the East Coast. We're about the middle of the East Coast, and moving here, a company will have access to over half of the U.S. population within 650 miles. So between that and our transportation corridors, we have direct access to 4 major interstates. So it really is easy to access your market once you've gained a foothold here.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that I think in your job and here at Ashley Lee Real Estate, the continued growth is still really all about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And our motto is building lasting relationships through service, education, and community. We want to build on all 3 of those, but it all begins with relationships. And obviously, I would assume a lot of your job is building those relationships with different companies. But we're not just saying that as a marketing ploy or a vision or a mission. It's truly the truth here in Winston-Salem. Not just at Ashley Lee Real Estate, not just at Greater Winston-Salem, but the whole city really embraces that. And it's really something special to be a part of, whether you're at a Winston-Salem Dash game, you're on 4th Street going out to get some coffee or just a night on the town, or you're somewhere in your neighborhood just having your neighbors over for a cookout. Relationships and community are one of the top things here in Winston-Salem that I love. And it's just natural. Like, it just happens. It's so cool.
It is true, yes. It doesn't take long even though we're not a small town, it really does not take long until you're at the grocery store and bump into people that you know. And I mean, that's a large part of the reason that I'm here is because it felt like home so quickly.
Yeah, that's awesome. With all the growth and all these moving families and industries in Winston-Salem and the Triad area, we'd love to be your first connection for your new home here in Winston-Salem at Ashley Lee Real Estate. Also, see the show notes below for Greater Winston-Salem's website, one of the truly best websites that just had like a brand new redesign, last year?
Yes, very recently.
When I clicked on it, I was like, this is awesome. So I love drones and aerial videography, and you guys have all of that on the website.
Yes.
But it's also not just a cute looking website. There's actually a ton of helpful information there. And so we encourage you to visit that, see that in the show notes below. Also, if you're looking to buy a new home here in Winston-Salem because you're moving down here, see the show notes below for our website. Thanks so much for tuning in.